All right, everybody, we are live again. Dynasty Mir, search for Huru. Thank you so much for joining us. Before we get started, make sure you guys go to dynastymir.com. Again, go to dynastymir.com, pick up some merchandise. You know, this is the African Ancestral Religion Roll Call shirt. Go and cop yours at dynastymir.com. And also buy a book, new release, everyone. Kinky Hair is Queenly Hair, new release. Go and cop a copy. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe as well. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. I have a special guest on with us from Nigeria via Russia currently. African Unite Sports is with us today. And the topic, very, very controversial topic. You know, people have talked about this before in the past. Should African nations
It is.
Should African nations pay reparations to the diaspora? Now, as someone told me so eloquently before, without sellers, you can't have buyers. You know,
Absolutely.
I know a lot of us, you know, I've been going back and forth to the continent since 2011, and some of us have picked up this romantic idea that white people just came into the villages, stole us, and just ran back to the coast and got hopped on their boats and took off. Nah, we had a lot of us who participated in the trading of other Africans to Europeans. So, should African nations be responsible for reparations? Now, the argument is, in fact, first of all, introduce yourself. I'm sorry, introduce yourself. Go ahead. Oh, he froze up on us. All right, guys, we're having.
All right. Hi, to hello.
Yeah,
Can
yeah,
you
go
hear
ahead.
me?
Yeah, froze up, but go ahead.
Okay. Thank you for the platform. For giving me this platform for us to have this conversation. I think it is really very important for us as a people to talk about uncomfortable, issues that are affecting us as a people. I am an African, not in Nigeria. I think I said that earlier, before, but not here. So the reason I said that I am an African is because of the colonial name that is attached to the word or to the name Nigeria and the artificial borders that were set right there in 1884 to 1885 in Berlin. So I'm very much proud of my root where I was, bettered in the west in the western part of Africa, right, in Nigeria. But Nigeria, I do not want to attach myself to that name, Nigeria, and I want us to view ourselves as Africans first before that artificial borders. I mean, we should crush it down because that's not. We should not accept that by the colonial masters or by the slave masters and the names they gave to us. So we should consciously make the decision of changing that. And that is what I'm doing, not answering those colonial names anymore and, looking forward. Africa, yes, is also a colonial name, but for the purpose of clarification, I would just refer to myself as an African for now. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Now, the argument is, as far as African nations having to pay reparations to the diaspora, is that during slavery, these African nations did not exist. What would be your argument?
Um, yeah, my argument is first of all, I have seen so many reactions from the comment section, you know, and that's really, really okay for people to react that way because, when we are having such controversial topic or discussion, people, it shows who we truly are as a people and where we are lacking, and how we are, so much divided as a people. So, but I think that, yes, that there were kingdoms that existed prior before um, prior before slavery or colonization. So it was literally not like countries and all of that, but we had kingdoms in people of different tribes. So it is not necessarily the country, but we had kingdoms, which if you want to compare it with today or, modern day way, it should be countries, right? But we had different languages, different culture, different tradition, and all of that. And there are rivalries among Africans prior before colonization or slavery, right? So, yeah. So for repatriation, it's just a word, right? But first of all, let's go back to history, because the reason I am saying that Africans should pay for repatriation, and I'm going to explain that in details.
Go ahead.
The reason is because, one, first of all, we should learn how to be responsible and take responsibility and be accountable, right? One of those is, we are hearing the stories that, oh, Africans brought civilization to Europe, they did that and all of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the failure of Africans to protect their territory, hence the Europeans invaded. That is one.
All right.
Secondly, the failure of Africans to, to protect their own, hence they were persuaded by the Europeans, to slavery, to sell their own into slavery, even if it was the European ideas, and some Africans also involved
Right.
in slavery. So for us to heal, for us to be able to move past this, we need to have such discussion. It is not comfortable, yes,
Right.
but we need to have it, because there's going to be this unresolved feelings, unresolved intentions, right? I am absolutely happy about the year of return and all of that, right? But the main focus should not be about investment. Investment is fine, it's okay, but the main focus for now should be about talking about inclusion, talking about inclusion, right? How are we going to, bring back that horrible history, sit on a table, on a round table, the same way they sat in Berlin 1884? How are we going to sit on a round table and have that discussion that everybody is ignoring and everybody don't want to have that discussion? We're always saying, come back home, come back home. Come back home to where? And it will interest you to know that before slavery, that these our brothers and sisters that were kidnapped had properties, they had land, they had things before they were kidnapped into slavery. So talking about bringing them back home and all of that, what happens? What happens to the property? What happens to the land? When we are inviting them back home, are we saying that they should come and sleep on the street? They should come and, there's going to be some sort of segregation. So it should be a constitutional discussion, because the constitution we're still operating on in Africa is the colonial constitution. Very much little change has just happened, right? It is not like it is something that, and that real change has actually taken place, that so many of these colonial constitution has been eradicated, these laws, these rules, this regulation. It was set up by the colonial masters, and they never included the children of the enslaved, were never included in those constitutions.
Right. You're right. I agree.
So now for us to move to the next level, first of all, emotionally, we are, damaged. Psychologically, we need to heal. First, our culture were taken away, were denied us, and by us, I am including myself with my brothers and sisters that were kidnapped. The language was stolen. I don't know if a lot of people don't understand this because it is very hurtful, it is very painful. It is okay for some continental Africans, because I'm seeing in this chat room, they are talking about Liberia, or they need to pay all of that and do all of those things. This is the self-hate I'm talking about. The reason we are having this conversation is so we can heal, is so we can connect. We don't need the government to connect us. And let's define what government is. Because by my definition of government is you and I. Government is the people, and not 1% or group of people who are representing us.
Yeah, froze up.
These 1% are just like errands people. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So the government is the people. So this thing that we are waiting for the government to make a very special announcement and all of that, right? I mean, it should has to do with the people. The connection should come from the people. I know about the media and its years of destruction, in the both parties, right? In Africa, how they have portrayed African Americans, and how they have portrayed Africa to African Americans over there.
Right.
But now is the time that two nations are about to come together and make a force, to join and make a force. And now the same people who colonized, who enslaved, don't want that to happen, because they know that should we unite, they're in trouble. Mm-hmm. But besides that, I think that repatriation for African Americans or those in the Caribbean should be the AU, the African Union, coming together and sitting down to discuss about this. Because one, inclusion. They shouldn't come and then there should be discrimination, because it will come up in the future if we don't address these issues. They should be given instant automatic citizenship, because they were stolen. Their land that they had before they were stolen, what happened to those lands? What about the properties? Because the people that were taken were not just ordinary people. They took the best of the brains. They took the best from us.
Right.
And it will interest you to know that before they left powers, they left it in the hands of those who are not, for the ordinary people. People who don't have the intellect, people who don't have the brain to govern. That is why we still have the kind of rulers we have today in Africa, the leaders we have. Because they know that they will still have their way should they leave it in the hands of these people who are not capable of leading, because they've taken and they have killed all our capable hands. So what I am saying is that the year of return and all of that is nice, is okay. But what about the healing and connection? What about talking about land, not leasing it, but giving this land an automatic citizenship? Because these are our people. They are not strangers. They did not fall from the sky. Something transpired. Something happened. It is just like I read the history of the Black Wall Street, right? Mm-hmm. This is history of African American, right? I read about this history exactly May 31st, 1921, right? Now, the Black Americans, they had everything. They own their own businesses and enterprise. We know what happened. It was destroyed. It was bombed. It was looted.
Right.
They lost everything. And what caught my interest was that this issue was never discussed. Although there was whispering about, but Black and white they didn't come together and talk about these issues and resolve these issues.
Of course not.
And this is the same thing that should not repeat itself in Africa between the diaspora and continental Africans. We should be able to be comfortable to have uncomfortable discussions. When we are talking about history, history does not repeat itself. Ignorant people repeat history. And my question again is, have the Black American, did they learn from the Black Wall Street or Black Wall Street, or they are repeating the incident that happened in Black Wall Street? We know about the system in America to cripple the Black Americans. The system. And then when we are talking about repatriation and all of that, when someone is gone down, people come out to protest. You see white people also join to protest. I mean, those are to me, I think it is hypocrites that you're coming to join and do that protest when you know the right thing to do. That's not the right place to be, to come out there and protest. Now listen, they've been protesting for decades. Look at 1921, they've been protesting because thousands of African Americans went to us. The only thing the media showed us was gangsterism. Mm-hmm. They showed us how they kill themselves, how they fight and all of that. So we are having that perception about Black Americans, that this is all that is entailed about Black Americans. But did they show us or tell us the history about the Black Wall Street? No, absolutely. Right. But for us not to repeat what happened in this era, and again, the protest about the white people, I believe that the white people know where the system, where they create, the Congress, those places where they make those laws, those places where the system is very effective. That is where they should have those conversations if truly they want change. Right. If truly they want change, and change should be demanded. So you don't come because, when you come out and you're protesting, that is history that is taking place over there. And they want to be part of history, to be seen that they came out and showed support. That's not support. Support is change. And you people are the ones that are up there setting the laws and all of these things. So you go to your parents, because most of your parents should be in the Congress. Most of your parents makes the law. They're all of that. You go and demand for change, and not to come out there and say you're protesting with Black people. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is for us to learn from our past, from our ancestors, learn from the mistakes. And to me, Africans have not really learned from their mistakes. History will not repeat itself. It is we, the people, that will repeat history, because we have refused to take proper note of what happened, what transpired, the reasons why our ancestors failed, why they were conquered, what happened, why. Until we start having this conversation, they invaded. Is our land secured now? It is not secured. They're still invading up until this day and time. So this conversation is something that we must have. Inclusion is something that should, you know, inclusion should be something that we should discuss.
Guys,
Because it should be like, I mean, this is a family discussion. It is not a war. That I am disagreeing or you are disagreeing with me, I'm not taking you to be my enemy. I'm not seeing you as an enemy.
right.
But I think it is okay for us to agree to disagree. So it should be a collective force. So when we are talking about the year of return, I want to be part of that movement.
Okay.
I am doing my own little work underground as regards to talking to some people to see towards what was it called, citizenship. But what I'm trying to say here is we don't have to depend on the government, because like I previously said, that the government is us, the people. Even if the government give the citizenship and all of that, if there is a disconnect with the people, there's going to be an issue, and certain words will begin to emancipate, will begin to come out. You begin to hear some certain things. Oh, you're not one of us. Oh, all of those, decisive words will begin to come out. People will begin. That's why I'm saying it should be instilled in the Constitution. They should have the right. Our brothers and sisters should have the right.
One second. All right, then Lorenzo Ware, then this conversation doesn't
Yeah.
you. All right, guys, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Again, go to dynastamir.com, go to dynastamir.com and get your books, get your merchandise. All right, go ahead, continue.
Yeah. So what I'm talking about now is continental Africans also suffered the Black Americans, right? As they are suffering. Why is the disconnect, and why did we have this disconnect for so long? Trying to connect. Can you hear me?
No.
Hello.
Yeah, okay, we hear you now. Go ahead. Yeah, you're kind of going in and out. So go ahead. You keep going in and out a little bit.
Hello.
Thank you so much for joining me for this topic. All right, go ahead. Hello. Oh, all right.
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
So can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So the question is, why were we so disconnected? And can you hear me?
Yes, yes. Go ahead. Go. We're good. Go ahead.
Hello.
Sister, you might have to turn your video off. You might have to turn your video off. All right, go ahead. Hello? Man, I'm enjoying this conversation. We're having technical difficulties with the Wi-Fi. Again, we're having technical difficulties with the Wi-Fi. So, oh man, maybe she needs to hop off and come back in. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Hello?
Yes. Go ahead. You know, when you came on the
Okay.
yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So I do believe that we should have we should sit on a round table where we invite our brothers and sisters, in the diaspora, to have a really deep conversation about inclusion, right? By inclusion, I mean they should have the same rights as every citizen, as continental Africans, the same right to vote and be voted for. Because if we are talking about repatriation, them coming back home, we are talking about home, and then and then some of our leaders are talking about, oh, they have to come and invest, they have to do this, they have to do that. I mean, I'm even wondering, do these people know that these people are our people, or is it that the history never happened?
Guys, if you want to call in and ask a question, email me. I'm gonna put it in the chat room, the email, and I will send you the link again if you want to call in.
And the thing is that is something that is collective. It is collective. I'm going to give you an example, because we don't really watch out for ourselves and our own, because there's so much hatred among us, right? Some people from the diaspora, they have this preconception that Africans don't like them. Africans have had their own experience, some Africans with some African Americans in the States. And now they already have this enmity between themselves, between ourselves. We don't want to see ourselves eye to eye. When we want to talk, oh, they have issues with these Nigerians, they have issues with these people, they have issues with that people. When we're talking about repatriating back to the continent, these are the people you'll be dealing with. So for us to be able to work together, we need to have this conversation. We need to, see how we can resolve our issues. But I think that in doing most of these things, and how we can work collectively to take back our continent, because I do believe that our continent we are not totally free from colonization. We're not totally free from slavery, judging from what is happening currently in the continent.
Let me address something real quick. Okay, so I want to address this Liberia statement. Why would these Black Americans who were African Americans who were kidnapped or sold into slavery in Central America return back home? So no, African Americans should not pay reparations to Liberia. Stop with that foolishness. We came back home. Okay, we came back home. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
And let me add to that. The reason I think that the statement is really dumb, because now they were sent back to Liberia, right? And they came to their homeland where they were being kidnapped, right? Taken forcefully. Now they didn't take anything from Liberia. Instead, that is their home. So what are we talking about? It is the place where they were taken from. They were sent back to that place.
Exactly.
Because these people recognize that you're not part of us. They know where you came from. So they sent them back to where they came from. So them being there, of course, they don't know their culture first of all, were stolen. Their
Right.
tradition were stolen. Their language were stolen. So they are coming with another mindset, with another culture, with another tradition, which is the Western.
Exactly.
So we need to settle our cultural differences, because not admitting that there is a cultural differences is a problem. We have to solve that, and respect each other. Like, I'm just wondering, like, we are the only set of people who talks anyhow, who don't respect each other. Because for me, I have so many vital information, but I'm not going to share it on this platform or on my platform. I am working on code. There's so many issues that if we have to talk about, we don't talk about it online. On we don't come online and then we start ranting. We are not going to bring about change if we continue with that aspect. The world is working on code, so we should work on code as well. But the reason I'm bringing this, the reason we are talking about this, is because we want to see change. We've been talking for decades, nothing has happened. The colonizers, their presence are still much very present in Africa.
Mm-hmm.
So nothing has literally changed. Nothing. All our natural resources, let's take Congo, for example. They have all the natural resources, but are they the ones managing it? No. Are they the ones in charge of it? No. So what are we going to do to change that? We need this collective force. And the collective force is by reconnecting with our brothers and sisters that were kidnapped and stolen. It is just like your child was taken away from you forcefully, right? To another land, to another home, and stuff like that. You, as the parents, you know what it means. You know how you felt. You know the pain, the agony, the tears, and everything that you went through. Because we, in this generation, we didn't suffer the psychological trauma that our ancestors, our mothers, they suffered during those times and during those periods. So we don't understand the volume and the magnitude of these things. So when we come to understand that these are kids are not they didn't die, they survived. Even when they are being beaten, they took them over there. Even if we're suffering in the continent, but we know that it is our land, and it is our responsibility to fight the invaders and kick them out. It is our responsibility. Who's going to do that for us? Nobody. So if we start giving all those excuses that we are giving, oh, they came, they do, for decades we have been saying the same thing and nothing has changed up until now. What are we doing to protect our territory from the hands of the invaders? They invaded and they're still coming to invade the Chinese. And before you know, they will take over. And we will just be online ranting about issues that is not important.
All right. Let me
Instead of us to think of coming together.
one second. Let me read this super chat. Dynus, my African brother, we did not sell you, but we did collaborate with the Arabs. So we owe you. We need to build a black Qatar, Dubai, Singapore, and bring our FBA family, Foundational Black American Family, home. Love and respect to you from the UK, from your Nigerian brother. Yeah, and we could build that in Nigeria. Why not? Go ahead.
Yeah. So what are the measures are we taking to ensure that the same thing that happened to our ancestors never repeat itself again?
All right.
So we need our brothers and sisters that were taken forcefully, and we need to give them their place. It is not what it should be something of celebration, something of joy, something of tears and rejoicing, and this connection, that feelings. that our people are coming back home. But no, the rulers or the government, or again, not the government, the representatives are making it difficult. But I think that the power lies in the hands of the people, which is us. Because if we can connect with one another, we can make demands and changes. We can bring about changes that we want to see.
Guys, if you want to call in, email me, Uhuru at searchforuhuru.com. Send me an email. I will send you the link, and you can come in and ask your question. Again, I'm going to post my email in the chat room. Email me, and then you can call in. All right, go ahead, sister.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is, I do not think that citizenship should be a debate, judging from what happened um, in our history, in our dark time, right? Citizenship should be something that is automatic. I saw a comment that talked about, oh, if we give citizenship to the Black Americans, then it's going to be a discrimination against the whites. The white didn't go through slavery.
Who said this? Who said this?
I mean, you should see the way. I mean, you should see the way some of our people, they are being programmed. Now we should forgive their ignorance. Some of them, right? Not all. They have brilliant mind.
No. It's 2020. We can't
I
just
understand.
forgive their ignorance. Effects of
no, exactly. I'm coming to that. I'm just saying, for this, I'm going to forgive their ignorance, because one, ignorance will only be replaced with knowledge. And the reason I'm saying that is because, one, a lot of us in the continent, some of us, we really don't know these things. And I would have been in the same position should I not have traveled, because of the indoctrination, the programming and all of that. Because our history is not taught in our schools, in our curriculum. It was obliterated deliberately. We only learn about the history of Europe and the West, how magnificent they are, how they brought civilization, and not even how they colonized us, how they brought civilization, all the lies. So these are the things that I believe that, if we start educating our brothers and sisters, because, I believe lots of them don't even know about Black Americans. They don't even know the history. They don't even know, the suffering and the pain that they have gone through and they are still going through. Some of our African brothers and sisters, they've become so westernized that they lack empathy for their own.
Right. They suffer. They suffer in Africa and come to America and coon. You suffer in Africa just to come to America and coon. Yeah, that's what happens.
Exactly. The mentality is that America is the greener pasture. America is the best. Europe is the best. Even the grass in Europe is not real. These are grass with manure. They are not natural. But they were able to package their to sell their unfertile land to us. And then we are selling all our properties in Africa and running to the West and Europe. And then when you go there, the system is going to track you down. The system is going to hold you. Now, for every mistake that Africa makes, the West and Europe, they correct their laws. They use this African mistake to correct themselves with their laws. Check out their immigration laws, because they invaded. They didn't want you to come and invade them, so they put strict immigration laws that will never favor Black people, because they don't want retaliation. But the Africans, have they learned from this invasion that took place? Are they securing their land? Are they making sure that there is no second invasion ever again? No, because what I'm saying is that there's going to be, if we don't take drastic decision right now, because the Chinese are coming in.
Right.
in their thousands.
Let me ask.
Recently, I saw a video of a Chinese man in Ghana who was crowned a chief.
Yeah.
It
I'm
has it has
listen,
also
I'm gonna take it a step further. I met one in Ghana, in Kumasi, a Chinese chief. I met one.
it is really heartbreaking, seeing all these things, and I mean, I really don't know
Let, let,
because
let me ask you this. Oh,
yeah.
go ahead and finish your statement, then I got a question for you. Go ahead.
Okay, now the reason I'm saying is there should be an outrage. There should have been an outrage if we were united. Because how can a Chinese be crowned a chief in our continent, in our land? They are taking your position as a black man and they're giving it to the Chinese. And you guys are quiet because this is how slavery started. You were quiet, you're not saying anything. There is no outrage. Before you know, the Chinese will be crowned governors. Before you know, they will be crowned senators, and it goes, they want to become president, and they have captured you, they've taken everything that you have. Because it starts from this small. You say, oh, it's just a chieftaincy title, it's nothing. It is absolutely a big deal for me. Your position is being given to strangers, and you guys are on the internet talking about, things that don't matter. There is no teamwork. We don't look out for one another. And I'm going to use Russia as an example.
Go ahead.
Now, I speak, I speak a couple of languages, right? And I also speak Russian. But let me give an example of the Russian people. These people are so, they are so together. They watch out for their environment. They watch out for one another. Mm-hmm. You understand? Now, if you see a Russian who is suffering, who has a challenge or a problem, right? He calls his friend, and they call themselves brother. It's just like Black Americans, or we do call yourself brothers, but that
Right.
name brother is different, and I will tell you the difference. The difference is Black Americans, they call themselves brother just for title, just for greetings. They don't mean that thing. But I'll tell the difference when Russians call themselves brother, they actually meant it. That truly you're my brother and I'm going to, stand for you, protect you, be there. They ask the question, what are we going to do? How do we solve these issues? An issue of one Russian is an issue of all Russians. They support each other. They are ashamed when something goes wrong to one of them and
Right.
is in the eyes of the public. They are ashamed, but we don't have shame. We don't have shame. We will be the first to blow trumpet and sound it all over and say, "Oh, look at what has happened. Look at what has happened." Blah 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 and blah. To this brother, we bring it online and we talk about and bring our brothers and sisters down. That mentality must change.
Right.
We must work in code because they are all working on code. Trust me.
Let me ask you this: for the Black Americans who their end game is still America and they're still emotionally attached to America, what would be your message to them? For them?
Sorry, please, can you say that again?
Okay, for the Black Americans who believe that their end game is America and that they are
Yeah.
emotionally attached to America and they cannot see anything outside of America, what would be your message for them?
Well, I do believe in respecting people and their decision and their choice.
Okay.
Yeah, the reason for that is because one, we should look at it in two ways, right? Because you cannot ignore the history, the horrible history of blacks in America and how they built that place and their sweat and their fight and everything. So of course there's going to be an emotional attachment to America, to some of them, right? And all of that, even if the system is against them and the system is put to bring them down and all of that, they still want to fight and to see that they own. They deserve. Of course, they deserve to have something or a portion or something at all, right? So I would tell them to do them, right? I respect their decision. I'm not going to say anything otherwise, but for only for those who wants to repatriate and who are connected to the motherland. So those are the people that I want to. I will be, I'm talking about now, and those are the people I'm very much interested in. Not that I will ignore those other ones that wants to stay back. Even if they're staying back, I think we should all work collectively and work and support each other. We should not just say, oh, because this, that, and that. We should just cut off ourselves totally from them. They're still our brothers and sisters, and we should support each other. So we should respect their wishes for wanting to stay there because it is their right. They built that place, and I think they deserve whatever thing they own there. But for those who are emotionally connected to the continent, I do believe that we should work together and see towards making the continent great, because there are issues in the continent, obviously.
Yeah. Shout out to Timmy Alamudu. We need a black code ASAP. Black people need to start policing our community. Okay. All right, Black Ambassador, go ahead.
Yo, what's going on? Shout out to everybody. Shout out to D. Anyways. Shout out to you, man. Great show. Much respects, man. And I just wanted to add into the conversation, and I agree with the sister was saying, specifically about, whether you're ADOS, ADOS, FBA, B1, and any other acronyms that are out there. As far as like the Pan-Africanist movement, that's why I call my show like Black Ambassadors, man. So, I mean, if that's your move to stay back in America, then so be it. Mine is not, because my bones is buried in Africa and my blood is in Africa. So therefore, I build with Africans, not only just in the diaspora and abroad, but also on the continent. And as she was saying, we have to build those things in which we don't have. Like currently, I can't go back to Africa and get an expedited citizenship or naturalization, but I can leverage my African roots and gain it. It is there. People have done it. We just need to build on that. So it's not a lot of work that we have to do as far as that aspect, like it was improvable or impossible. And I think we need to focus on those. As far as the reparations go, I just think a restoration needs to happen. And that restoration is more in the form of citizenship, gaining our identities back, and that bondage we lost and that was ripped from us. Let me not say lost, like it was just lost and found or something like that. But it was definitely forces that were forcing it. And I think, Ye said something that was pretty funny and I laughed at. And he said, next time they throw the slave net, let's not all stand in the same place. Right. So it's just like, and everybody was in the crowd that went over their head. They didn't understand that. But I was like, okay, I hear you. So once again, those people who try to go in on Pan-Africanist, etc., just give it a relax, man. Look, if you win in America, okay. And if we win in Africa, you got two homelands now. You got two places that you can inherit in. But, my strategic analysis says that, whatever we're pursuing in America, historically, you can see that it hasn't worked out so great. So if you have some new strategy to do something that Marcus Garvey hasn't done, or something that one of our great leaders that tried to see a different future in America happened, then so be it. But once again, I think it's important for us to build with Africans and build that bond and bridge, because we build bridges and bonds with every other group which has, did us wrong or has done foul against us and exploited our people. But we don't do the same thing for Africans. We don't do the same with each other. And real quick synopsis, right? 3 houses down, there's the Nigerians that live next to me and Ethiopians that live right next to me. And they just went to their house, went in, just mind their own business. But it was for me waving at them like I was crazy every day, smiling at them like I was crazy every day, that after a while, when they see me now, they're like, hey, how are you doing, my brother? You doing good? And invited me over for dinner. But prior to that, there was no relationship. So we do have to reach out and we do have to build those bonds. I understand what people say with, the connection not being there, but we just have to work for those. Just like you work for those white connections so much, you work for those European connections. They say about some of the most atrocious things, do the most craziest things, but we still work to bridge that gap, don't we?
Right.
So why don't you do it with your African brothers and sisters? Even more importantly, bridge that love and that bond that was stolen. We need to do that. That's one of our top priorities.
Now, Sandy, are you trolling, Sandy? Oh my God, wasn't this guy dissing Dynast with Pan African Strikes Back a couple of days ago?
No. They take my position with people who are like other people who are Pan-Africanism Strikes Back. We got a plan called our Africa Plan. There's somebody else also called Nat Neezy. I'm Black Ambassador. So most of the time when other people have different positions about other YouTubers, they take me and put me into the mix like I hold the same opinions. I don't. That's why my name is Black Ambassador. I don't really have opinions against anybody else. It's just that we sometimes get in the way of our own ideology and think we got the best solutions, where I don't see it like that. I see that it's very complex and there's a lot of people. You don't see the UN bashing the army, even though the UN or the Peace Corps, even the Peace Corps goes down there and does things that the army doesn't agree about. They're like, that's dangerous down there. They don't get out and bash them and start clowning them. So I'm not a part of that. I'm about really uplifting. I think that person might be trolling.
Okay. All right. All right. Let's see here. Let me check the.
Yeah, and Brandon was on your show, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, man. Thank you for. Hopefully, we get the sister back on. I know she's having some.
Oh yeah, shout outs to you, man. Shout outs to you and everything that you're doing. Much respect, King. I really appreciate the work you put in. And then on top of that, I did get in contact with Landway, and I'm gonna have that house in Naija with you. So I got mine in Lagos. So I'm working towards that and then making my payments.
All right, that's what's up, man. All right, brother.
Thanks, brother. Thanks for having me on. Shout outs to everybody.
Yeah, peace. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, I do. Can you hear me?
I hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I mean, what I'm saying is that we need to build our own platforms. We need to be having private discussions as of how we are going to, integrate, how we are going to, talk about uncomfortable situations and issues that are affecting us as a people, how we are going to grow, how we are going to work together, teamwork. Remember, I talked about the Chinese. They work in team, they work collectively, collective effort. It doesn't have to be this individuality mentality. This is from the West. It's not part of us. So we need to push ourselves from such mentality, that individuality mentality, because individuality mentality has never helped us as a people. So how can we grow? How can we build that Africa of our dream, that Africa where everyone can be African, because no one is more African than any other person. So we all should have that, Africa where we all are equal, we all are the same, we all are valued, our opinions should be heard, stuff like that. So, and lots of us today, we are living in the West, right? We are living in Europe and all of these things. We are helping to build the economy. We are, giving them all our strength, our resources, everything that we know, our know-how, our intellect and everything, right? So it is when we are just, tired and, not working anymore, that's when we want to come to Africa and give Africa the remains. You give Europe the best and you want to come to give Africa your remains. Ooh. How do you think that Africa is going to grow?
You just said something. No, you're right.
And Europe don't ever accept the remains. They don't accept the remains, but they accept the best.
Right. Let me.
And you can see, what is happening in UK. They want to put certain laws that has to do with just the best have to be there and work. So if you know that you're below minimum wage, they are deporting you and all of that, right?
All right.
So how? Oh, okay.
No,
I think I should give it time to do that.
Go ahead.
Okay. So what I'm trying to say here is we must have that collective mentality. We must be a communist we must have that communist mind, like the Chinese, in our mind, where it has to do with teamwork, collective effort, working together, buying from among ourselves, building, and not just living. Some of us are just, including myself, we're just living, right? But the Chinese are business minded. We're thinking about how we can have this other paper. I think the Western education is a scam. It's a scam. It is not for us.
Mm-hmm.
You finished here, they say you have to upgrade to this one. You finish, you get your paper, that you're going up and up, you're taking your money. All this money you would have used to invest, build, and do something. But they are taking your money and you pay so much just so you're going to continue being a slave to somebody. And that position, you're not going to have it if you have a white counterpart that wants that job. So of course, you're just an option. You might not be taken. So we must have the Chinese mentality, build, have your own business. And how are we going to do that? With collective work, collective efforts. We need to come together and pool our resources together. We must start by trusting one another, bringing our resources together and building and putting these resources and building. Hey, brother, I have $2,000, $3,000. I also have 10 of you. You come together and you put your resources together and you build something. This is the kind of mindset I'm talking about, how we are going to work. If just one star is shining, it means that you're poor as well. Because if you have hundreds of stars who are dark, that are dark and dim, it's not shining. But if all hundreds is shining, that's how the Chinese are. Because they are all shining and the whole world can feel their presence. Right. And that is the kind of mentality I want, that the whole world should feel our presence. And how are we going to do that? We buy everything from every other people except from our people. We eat from every other restaurant except from our people, from our restaurant. We patronize everything except black owned businesses.
Okay. Let's see. Kai.
So we need to change our mindset.
All right, we're gonna take. We'll take one more caller. Let's see here.
Okay.
All right, guys. Again, hit that like button, family. Hit that like button, share, and subscribe. And again, go to dynastymir.com. Go to dynastymir.com. When are you going back to Nigeria?
Soon, I will be coming back to Nigeria because the West Europe is not for me, I think. But what Europe taught me is how to love myself and value myself more and my continent. That is what Europe taught me. Because coming from my home country, I never knew what racism was all about. Coming from my home country, I never knew what discrimination was all about. Coming from my home country, I never knew what a systematic laws. Because we don't have it there. We have this individuality, you watch out for yourself and all of those things, right? So the government, is there to protect these people, is watching out for them. So, I never knew about all of these things until I'm here. I never knew that my melanin will be shamed, So the more they shame it, now I am very much in love with myself, my melanin, and everything that has to do with me and my continent and my people.
Hey, Kai.
So it has made me to realize.
Hey, Dinah, hi. Hey, the African Unite. Thanks so much for addressing all these great points, because personally I've been having this kind of talk for so long, because it's one thing to know that someone that you refer to as a brother or sister, that they are actually going through a tough time, And like you said, what they experienced, we on the continent, we didn't experience the same things. We didn't go through those trauma. So, but now we are on this side, we know the reality of what exactly happened all these centuries to them. So if we want to really be part of the solutions, like you say, I also believe, 100% that our government should be able to give citizenship to the people that are willing to come back. The one that are
Right.
able, financially to help, that's great. But the one that are not able, we shouldn't say, oh, because they cannot contribute in any way, when it comes to what they can put on the table, then they should stay there. So for me, as long as the person is willing to come and settle, they should give them that, for me, they should give them what is rightfully, theirs, for them. So, and even us that have our various platforms. That's why sometimes you address certain issue and you tell the viewers, okay, we need to do something outside, this YouTube or using this platform. But people, they discuss the talk, but they don't actually get back to you. So even if you have things in mind that you can, approach certain people and they will be able to help, you are not the one, I'm not the one in need. So it's actually the one that you want to help that's supposed to get back. So like you said, there are certain things you can't, discuss all those things on this platform. So that's why we need to, if we have to be email, I know you have my contact, I have your contact. And for the people in the stream, you have Dinah's email as well. Let's just try, apart from reflecting on things, trying to find solutions, let's find, have some groups and do things that can actually bring true change, instead of us knowing that this is the way we can help. We are willing to help, but we are not the one, I'm not the one that need the help. So it's down to everyone out there that I know that, okay, I really want to go on the continent. Maybe if it's visit, I want to visit, fine, do that. But when it comes to buying land and all that, and you are not in position to do that right away, it's down to people like the African Unite, myself, Diners. It depends the country you choose to settle in. So if it's, like I said in the chat already, I'm from, a place where they speak French apart from, our native tongue. So if that would be a barrier for some people, then those people, they won't choose Togo, for example. But those that don't mind, they know that, okay, we can reach out to the diaspora channel and then something can happen in Togo, or we reach out to the African Unite. And like I said, the governments are there, they have their rules. At some point, we can, though we are doing what we are doing, we still need to have a sort of relationship with some of them, because I believe some of them also are open-minded. But like we keep saying, it's not every conversation. Personally, I will be comfortable discussing certain things on this platform. So it's down to, our brothers and sisters in the chat that support us by, joining our stream, watching our videos and everything. It's down to them also to contact us, to reach out to us, so that we don't end up talking, and they are, they're still in the same situation we discussed about last year and then the year before. So that's all I have to say. But apart from that, the African Unite, you are so on point. I believe if someone lost something, and if we actually consider them like they are our brothers and sisters, you just know that if they actually lost something, and this is rightfully for them, you that is the person on the continent, and I'm referring to the authorities, you are the one that can stand up and say, okay, we believe this is exactly what happened, and we know you are one of us, and this is what we are willing to give to you. Like I said, It doesn't supposed to be like, oh, 1 acre of plot, even if it's a 1 plot per individual, at least, give them something, because like you said, before they they came and, took people by force, they have lands. So, if we believe they are our people, we're supposed to give them, if not everything, because we don't know the value, at least give them something to work with. So that's all I have to say tonight, and I'll see you guys in the chats.
Okay, thank you, Kai. All right, African Unite Force. We'll go ahead and close out. Anything else you'd like to share? We'll go ahead and close out. What would you like to share in closing?
Let me just talk a little about what you just mentioned about the government, right? That they are obligated to, to extend a helping hand and make things faster and easier for our brothers and sisters to repatriate back, right? By so doing, repatriation, the topic is, should African pay for repatriation? Yeah, the payment for repatriation should be making things easy for them to come back home, giving them land, giving them, citizenship and all of that, making it easier to connect with their culture, their people, the things that they have missed and they, were stolen, taken from them. It's not their choice to make that. But one thing I want to talk about, it is no news that most African leaders or rulers are puppets. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, that they are puppets, they are puppet leaders. So if you are depending on these puppets who are still answerable to their colonial masters, you're missing out. So we, the people, we are ready to connect with you. We are ready for the change. We want you to connect with us because we are the government. So if we can connect with one another, we are opening our doors. I am opening my doors for our brothers and sisters. It doesn't have to be a very big door, but no matter the size, I'm opening it for them to come back. It doesn't have to be the hashtag year of return. It has to do with the minds of the people, how they are able to understand the trauma of our people, what they have suffered and what they're still suffering, and to empathize, to accept and reconnect back. That connectivity, I want to have that connectivity back with my brothers and sisters, that I am aware that they didn't die when they passed through the Atlantic Ocean. They didn't die when they were beating them up and doing all those things during slavery. They didn't die. They survived all of those things and all those years. It is something worth celebrating. It is something that is worth, something that, I don't know, like this connection is something that is worth celebrating and welcoming. But no, our puppet leaders are not going to allow that to happen, because they're all about themselves. They care less about us. So how do you think they're going to care about you? Well, you have to connect with us, the people.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm trying to say here, that the connectivity should be for the people. So think less about things that are not important. Stop coming online and talking about hate and certain things that are meant for kids. We are talking about a building. We are talking about that our next generation do not suffer and come back to what we are suffering today. So I believe in unity. I believe in collective work. I believe in working on code. I have a platform. I've created a platform. It's very private. I don't bring issues up here online. There are people who have written me. So we have to talk about really, really important issues and work towards it. So if you want to be part of that, you should join that. We will come up and then we talk about really, really important issues, and information will be given. So don't expect me to come on here and start ranting. I will not do that. The Russians taught me how to work on code. The Chinese taught me how to work on code. So I will do the same, because the world is working on code and we must work on code as well. So we should stop that attitude of tearing each other down, coming online and talking things that are not important. So I believe in our unity. I believe that if we can put our differences aside and see the vision and see the goal, like the Chinese, they put their eyes on the plow. They don't look at these distractions, so many distractions. We should forget about these distractions and focus on the goal and focus on the collective work. I believe we will make it and see towards that our future generation don't suffer the same mess our ancestors and we, this generation, we are suffering today. So let's work together. Let's stop the self-hate. Let's unite. Our force is what the oppressors are afraid of, and we should never forgive our oppressors. When they slap you, don't ever forgive them, because religion taught you how to forgive. And what is forgiveness? Forgiveness is justice. Forgiveness is standing for the truth. Forgiveness is demanding for what is yours. Don't you ever forgive your oppressors. Don't do that. That is an error. It is religion who has taught you to do that. I've done a video, separate video about that. It's in my channel. So I've already addressed all of those things. But what I'm saying is that our collective effort, our collective work is going to go a long way. So let's unite, let's come together. Let's stop acting like kids and talk about building generational legacies, things that will bring about impact, and the world should feel our presence. Aren't we tired of the humiliation we are getting all over the world? Aren't we tired? And some of us, including myself, we are running to the oppressor's land. The people who enslaved us, we are running to their land.
Absolutely.
So I think that we should come together. For those who want to repatriate, continental Africans are really ready to work with you. They are ready to do everything. So I think we should push this conversation to AU and see towards that, we have more serious conversation that, will bring about change. I think that we should also push it to every governmental representatives to see that we work with them to have this conversation, this discussion, and see how we can inclusion of our brothers and sisters. And besides doing that, we must have private meetings and work on code. Don't bring all your information online, because this platform is not ours. We should create our platforms. So thank you so much for tonight. Thank you, Dinus. I am really appreciative. I am so thrilled. Thank you so much for having me.
Anytime. Everyone, thank you so much for joining. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Also, subscribe to the sisters channel as well, the African Unite Force. Until next time, family, Dynasty Mirror Search for Huru. Peace.